Nick Fuentes and his puff piece interview with Tucker Carlson. Let's talk about it. So last week I came out with a video about Mark Driscoll and Nick Fuentes, and I said we can't allow people like this to infiltrate our circles, whether it's Mark Driscoll with evangelicalism or whether it's Nick Fuentes with right-wing conservative republicanism. They're toxic and poisonous. And I was going to let it go. I was going to move on to do other things, but then I got a couple YouTube comments that are very interesting. So some of them, and I'll put them up here if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble. I'll put them up for you to be able to read. But basically, they're like, Nick Fuentes is a future. He's reaching Gen Z. He has a message, and you, me, and what I believe, it's going to it's going to fall away. It's going to be replaced by people who think like Nick Fuentes does. And in one of my responses, I said, okay, well, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down ideologically fighting. May the best ideology win. And again, you can see some of those comments there if you're watching the video. Now, I was going to really let it go. But like I said, I saw a couple comments that kind of piqued my interest. And then Tucker Carlson came out with an interview with Nick Fuentes over this past week, and it was a really pathetic interview. I'm not going to lie. There was no pushback. Sometimes on Twitter, you'll get this comment of, oh, you just want to cancel Fuentes. You don't want to talk to him. You don't want to, you're scared of his ideas. You just want to ignore him. No, I'm fine with talking to Fuentes. My thing is you need to push back on some of the things that he said. So, for example, Tucker Carlson is a prominent figure, unfortunately, with Turning Point USA. He's one of their speakers, one of their representatives. Huge mistake on the part of TPUSA, but oh well, that's another topic. But okay, don't you think then it's applicable, it's relevant to talk about some of the things that Nick Fuentes has said about Charlie Kirk, because Charlie and Tucker were friends. Now Tucker's friends with Nick Fuentes. Don't you think in this interview it might be relevant to bring up some of the ugly comments that Nick has said in the past?
I think a lot of people are starting to find out Charlie Kirk is not the patriot that he says he is. And so I look at what happened last night and I think to myself, this is totally a doable operation. You know, Charlie Kirk in the grand scheme of things is just some retarded idiot. The dog is terrified. I had to go upstairs and reassure him because I'm screaming at my screen, calling Charlie Kirk a bitch and everything. The contrast could not be more clear. Charlie Kirk is a totally unexceptional human being. A moral struggle that's happening on the higher dimension, right? Which is Christ versus the devil. Who does Charlie Kirk serve? You know, is he really a Christian? Is he really Christ-like when he supports foreign wars and Israel and all this? Look at the people he's taking money from. You know, so the guy's a fake Christian. We acknowledge that Charlie Kirk is not conservative. He's destroying the country, and we can all agree that we have to put a stop to that, right? Charlie Kirk is a retard and a coward, so we've got him checked on both fronts. It is worth mentioning that Dan Crenshaw, Charlie Kirk, I imagine these people, their IQs are like, what, 90, 95, something like that. I mean, these are not exceptional people. These are not intellectual heavyweights, right? Obviously, there's a big opportunity to humiliate Charlie Kirk in front of the president's son and demonstrate to the establishment that he is not in control. So that one is going to be a big one. You know, this is stuff that we've been saying for years, that Charlie Kirk is a leftist, that Charlie Kirk is not a conservative. There's a real risk that at an organizational level, we will cause problems for Charlie Kirk.
Well, Tucker, again, it was a puff piece softball interview, doesn't push back at all. And basically, the interview served to moderate Nick, make him look reasonable, didn't press him, didn't push him, didn't play some of the ugly clips from his past that I will play for you today. So what I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to play and I'm going to talk about some of the topics that Tucker should have if he wasn't interested in mainstreaming Nick Fuentes. And I know Tucker's better than this because he's able to give a hard-hitting interview like what he did with Ted Cruz. He's able to push back. He's able to press. He just didn't do that with Fuentes. And I'll play a couple clips from their conversation. But, anyways, it was really the Tucker Carlson interview that led me to make this video today. And one verse that kept coming to mind is this, as I think about Nick Fuentes and just his evil ugliness on the inside. He's real, just again, just wicked, some of the things that he said. I think about this verse in John chapter 3, starting in verse 20. I'll read 20 and 21. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. What do you do with darkness? You expose it by bringing it into the light. That was Tucker's job, and he failed miserably. Well, okay, I'll do that here today. And so what I'll do is I'm going to play some clips from Nick Fuentes' show. And I'll put the links in the comments, in the description. So if you want to go check out Nick Fuentes' channel, his website, his interview with Tucker Carlson, all those types of links will be below to cite where I'm pulling this from. But anyways, all of that, it's ugly, it's awful, but we're going to begin there. So what have we covered? Some YouTube comments, a verse reference. I wanted to read John 3. The best disinfectant is the light. Evil likes to stay hidden. Nick is trying to reinvent himself as a moderate conservative. He is trying to fill Charlie Kirk's shoes. He's trying to say, hey, Charlie and I may have had our beef, but look, we're on the same side. Don't let him reinvent himself. Don't let him do that. And I'll play a couple clips. But real quick, one thing Tucker could have done is Tucker could have pushed back on Nick Fuentes' Hitler comments and Stalin comments, and I'll play those videos for you now. And Tucker does not do that. It would have been good for him to do, but he doesn't. Watch these videos.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. And any boy knows that. Anybody who watches these videos where he's rolling down the street and stuff, it's like, this guy's awesome. This guy's cool.
So it was like late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's?
Mm-hmm. Always an admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess.
Well, that's okay. Let's get back. We'll circle back to that.
It was weird because the reason I mentioned that, it was almost like, because I woke up that day and I was like, oh, it's December 18th. And I was just like very acutely aware of like, today's like a strange day. This is the day that the attempt happened.
Yeah, that would have been nice, Tucker, Tuck. Your job as a journalist is to follow up on comments like that. So what do you mean? Instead, he lets them scoot by because, again, the whole goal of this week interview was to make Nick Fuentes seem reasonable and moderate. And so some of the ugly stuff we're just going to keep in the closet, but not in this video. Also, another thing, I should have said this in the intro to the video, but I'll say it now. In a couple of these videos that I'm going to play for you, Nick Fuentes uses really poor language, really ugly language. A lot of it I'm going to let slide, so there will be explicit words. However, there is a couple words that I need to be careful about when it comes to YouTube's algorithm and the filters, RAP, etc. So, you can fill in that last letter there, but RAP and stuff like that. So some of it will be removed, but I just need us to feel the ugly, the forcefulness of just the coarse language to know, hey, this is not a guy that we want speaking for us. And so moving to my next point, which is Nick trying to reinvent himself as a moderate, listen to these two videos here. These are kind of before Charlie Kirk's death, and some of these are after. And so you can kind of contrast what Nick Fuentes really feels. You can listen to them here.
I guess the word that I would use, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is reassurance, because I think there's a legitimate, need to reassure people. And this is kind of what I've been doing on these podcasts, that we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to kill anybody. We don't want to harm anybody. Right. We just want to put America first. And I guess, to the extent that I've been taken out of context over the years or things like that, I'm trying to set the record straight and say, and I appreciate you've given me this opportunity. These are my real views. I'm not one of those haters.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus's country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
We had our disagreements. Where we did agree is that he would go to these college campuses and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that is why he was killed. The gunmen that killed him, they hated him because of his defense of Christian morality. Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian anymore. Sorry, you forfeited that. I do not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer, one more ask me anything, without being protested, without being shouted down, without being interrogated about this. This guy goes around from campus to campus in the most artificial and phony and fake way, talking about, oh, God made me very blessed that I control $500 million. Oh, I'm so blessed. I'm so rich and I'm so blessed. And oh, God's been so good to me. I'm such a Christian. Oh, the Lord gave me the Sabbath. I take Saturday off. You sit there and call yourself a Christian and then you make excuses for the genocide of 2 million people? Seriously? You stand there and purport to be an evangelist like Billy Graham? Oh, you're the latest Billy Graham? You're our generation's America's pastor? Why? Because you said the right words? Because you said, God bless, God bless. God bless, my friend. Oh, I rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus. And then you go around from campus to campus making excuses for a famine?
And then along those lines, here are some more videos about RAP, his jokes about women, which were pathetic and evil. And so if you're a mom out there, if you're a dad out there, do you want this guy leading our families, leading our men and women? I don't. So again, here's more ugliness, more awfulness. I'm just going to play for you so you can hear them. Here they are.
I'm not surprised why women don't support me. Women are irrational and sensitive. It's just like my whole life. Because I was always like the class clown. I was always like bullying women. And women have always been like simultaneously charmed, but also like, oh, stop it. Oh, you're so annoying. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's how women are with like my personality type, where you're like a rascal, you're like a bastard. And they're kind of like, because I'm like a rule breaker and stuff. And so women simultaneously are intrigued by that, but they also have to pretend like they're not, because women, it's sort of like how a lot of women want to, and when I say, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that, but there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't. What's cringier? Hunter Biden is smoking crack and having sex with his hot niece. Okay, I know that's very wrong. That's very wrong. That's very immoral. I know. But it is what it is. His niece is hot. And then he got Don Jr. is dating Kimberly Guilfoyle, who's not only older than him, but older than his father's wife. Okay? So who's cooler? You're not going to make me not like Joe Biden because his son is cool and had sex with his hot niece.
And then finally, we're going to talk about his views on racism and anti-Semitism, or the fact that he is a racist, he's an anti-Semite. And this is where I get mad at the political left. I get mad at them for this reason. Racism and anti-Semitism are real words with real meanings and real definitions. But because the political left used those words for everyone they disagreed with, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist. What happened is those words lost all their power, lost all their punch. And so here we actually encounter a real racist, a real anti-Semite, but some of you are going to roll your eyes because you're like, well, the political left has been smearing people with those words ever since, 10, 15 years ago. They don't have any meaning. That's unfortunate because this would actually be a legitimate use of those words. And so again, hear what he has to say about black people.
Chinese soldiers on every corner. And if a black person started spazzing out, they took a sword out and cut his hands off. And he was like, ah, my hands, man, shit. And then they cut his head off. Whooshing. And his head went like rolling around. His decapitated body, he like fell to his knees with his head off. What if that happened? That would be awesome. But people are like, no, China's our enemy. It's like, I want China. China would do a better job running our country than we do. Okay, they have concentration camps. That's a joke. That's not real. They have re-education facilities for Uyghurs. Okay, what if they did to Harlem and the south side of Chicago what they're doing in Xinjiang to the Uyghurs? Is that not ideal? Okay, and what if they went to LA and somebody breaks into somebody's window and a giant Chinese soldier grabs him by his neck and says, "Xi and just guts him, just guts his belly and his intestines spill out and throws him to the side, throws him into the river. Is there a river? No, there's no river in LA. Throws him into the Pacific Ocean, his body swallowed by the sea, swallowed by the waves. And he's got a hat on. That's a country I want to live in. You go into Erewhon, there's a Chinese soldier outside, you salute, you show your facial recognition, it scans your face. Have a good day, sir, thank you. Go into Erewhon, get your Hailey Bieber, walk out, there's no crime, there's no needles, there's no homeless people, they're all dead. No, that's a joke. And there's no shenanigans. Oh, look. They're building a giant bridge. Oh, look, they're building a giant skyscraper. That would be awesome.
So coming back from all that, I want to contrast Nick with another person who I think is a much better role model to look up to. And that's Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, when he became popular over on the Canadian side of things, his message to men was simple and powerful and good. Y'all, get your act together, clean your room, take on responsibility, become marriageable, work hard, discipline yourself, get your act together. Nick Fuentes, on the other hand, he plays the victim. So there was this really sad clip. It was sad to me anyways, when Tucker was talking with Nick about women and just some of the issues when it comes to marriage and relationships. And Nick Fuentes puts the blame on the women. It's their fault. And no doubt he would look to things like OF and just other aspects of social media that are ugly and dark. And to be fair, those are issues for sure. But it allows a lot of the young men to play the victim. And I want to tell young men that the Jordan Peterson route is so much better. Get your act right, work hard, save money, develop skills and talents, develop a sense of humor, develop your interests, your hobbies, read books, become more intelligent. Be okay with reaching out to women and being rejected, because that's part of the mating dance, the mating ritual. Become marriage material. Jordan Peterson didn't let men take this pathetic, weak-minded victimhood mentality. And Nick Fuentes plays to that. And so he blames the women. And I pitied Nick here. Of all the other things he said that are just evil and wrong, just terrible, I played them for you on this video. That one was where I felt the saddest for him because of how lost he is from a relationship standpoint. Nick Fuentes, he's a good speaker, and no doubt when he's not making ugly jokes, he probably can say funny jokes, like actually funny jokes. He probably has a sense of humor that's hidden, well hidden, in just the ugly remarks that he makes. But instead, he goes the victimhood route. And so these are things that, okay, if we're going to go down to people like this, people like Candace Owens and Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, if these are the people we're going to fall to, let us at least go in with our eyes wide open. Don't let Nick Fuentes pretend to be a moderate. Don't let him pretend to be someone who is reasonable. His views, one of the perks of him being sidelined for so long, for him being in the shadows for so long, is the fact that he said all the things that he said in private that we have video for, that I played for you today. But anyways, there is a better way forward. I think of a couple men that I look up to on the evangelical side. People like not Nick Fuentes, that's hilarious. Allie Beth Stuckey is great. Frank Turek. I think about Andrew T. Walker. I think about Owen. I mispronounce his last name all the time. Straken or something. I'll put a picture of him here. There are a lot of good leaders out there in the Protestant side. A lot of people who are well-spoken and reasonable, people who can make a persuasive case without resorting to ugliness or violence. Charlie Kirk was another one. And so to finish the video, I want to play something from Charlie where he stands up to this white supremacy that's been infecting the right side of the aisle.
I want to ask a question of you. What does it mean to be an American? Is it an idea or a history, a shared history, or is it a skin color?
Well, I mean, you could go back to the original founding fathers, the Immigration Act of, I believe it was.
What does it mean to be an American? Is it a skin color or something else?
So there's the current idea of what it means according to, the Hart-Celler Immigration Act and, all this bullshit that you guys spew. But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white men of good stock and character.
So, can you show me? Let me answer the question. Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it.
The founding.
You, sir, they did not put it in the United States Constitution. Let me answer another question. Let me ask you another question since you support. Allow him to have the mic. Let me ask you another question,
founding
sir.
Fathers wrote many
what
other
does the
documents
phrase,
other than the United
sir,
States Constitution, and they made it
sir,
explicitly clear. That
what does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean? What does the phrase "e pluribus unum" mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one. You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian. It has no place in the conservative movement, my friend. Get out of line. Get out of line.
There you have it. Right now, there is a civil war on the right wing side of the aisle between those who are actually racist. And I mean it actually, not like, oh, you disagree with my policy, you're racist, but like someone who actually thinks Black people and Jews deserve these awful things. And then so on and so forth. And I'm going to fight ideologically. And if I go down, that's fine. But it is a fight worth fighting. And so going to apologetics and the public theology, it's exactly that. I'll repeat what I said last week. Public theology, you enter the public square and you present a vision of human flourishing. It affects your laws. It affects who you vote for. You talk about, okay, in light of biblical principles, this is what I think needs to happen when it comes to the economy, when it comes to criminal reform, or when it comes to the prison system, when it comes to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and so on and so forth, all the amendments. You're presenting a vision of human flourishing. This is what it looks like at the macro level. And so then you need to be persuasive. You need to present evidence. You need to speak well. You need to argue well and debate well. And you have competing visions of what it means to live a good life, what is truth, what is beauty. And so, as apologists, as we make our case for the Christian faith at the micro individual level, this is what it means for you personally. And then at the macro societal level, this is what it would mean for us politically as a whole, as a nation, at the national level, societal, cultural level, et cetera, et cetera. This is why this stuff matters, because as we seek to evangelize and as we seek to say, hey, Jesus is the answer, we want to draw close and draw near to him. We want biblical principles to permeate. We want them to be the foundation of our policy. As we say those things, people are going to respond with, oh, well, what about Nick Fuentes? What about Tucker Carlson? What about all these people? And then you're going to have to make a better, more reasonable, more persuasive case than them. I think we can, but we have to speak up. So this is why it matters in apologetics. It's not just for salvation. That matters. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. And I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to shout that from the mountaintops. But apologetics also talks about what it looks like for the Christian faith to be implemented all across society to inform our policies and our rules. So that's why we have to be persuasive. We need to be attractive. We need to be missional as we seek to share what it looks like for the Christian faith to be lived at the micro level and the macro level. Until next time, y'all, this is Nate Williams, the director of the Apologetics Resource Center. I'll talk with you later.
All the traitors will have to kiss the ring. My supporters will never have to do anything like that because you took the pledge. You took the loyalty pledge. I will kill, rape, and die for Nick Fuentes. Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes. Okay. So as long as you take the oath, you're good.